The coffee was still warm. The front doors were unlocked. Dinner sat untouched on kitchen tables. Cars remained parked in driveways. But every single person was gone. No bodies. No signs of violence. No warning. Just an entire town that seemed to disappear in the middle of ordinary life. When investigators first arrived, they thought there had been some kind of evacuation. A gas leak. A chemical spill. A natural disaster. Something. Anything. But the deeper they looked, the stranger it became. Because nothing suggested the residents had planned to leave. In fact, everything suggested the exact opposite. The town was small. The kind of place where everybody knew everybody. Generations of families lived there. People worked there. Raised children there. Built entire lives there. Then one morning, it was empty. Completely empty. The mystery began when a delivery driver arrived with a routine shipment. As he entered town, something felt wrong. The streets were quiet. Too quiet. No children playing. No people walking. No businesses open. At first, he assumed he was simply early. But as he drove farther, the silence became impossible to ignore. He stopped near the town square. Nothing. Not a single person. He entered a grocery store. The lights were on. Music was playing softly through the speakers. Shopping baskets sat abandoned in the aisles. A carton of milk rested on the floor near the checkout area. But there was nobody inside. Not a customer. Not an employee. Nobody. The driver immediately contacted authorities. Within hours, investigators arrived. What they discovered raised more questions than answers. Homes appeared untouched. Televisions were still running. Meals remained on tables. Laundry sat half-folded. Some houses even had water running in sinks. It looked as though people had simply stopped whatever they were doing and vanished. Entire families disappeared. Parents, children, grandparents, everyone, even pets were missing. Not a single living resident remained. Search teams quickly expanded operations beyond the town limits. Forests, roadways, nearby communities. Nothing. No vehicles leaving. No signs of mass travel. No evidence of a large-scale evacuation. It was as if hundreds of people had simply ceased to exist. Investigators interviewed residents from neighboring towns. Several reported something unusual. During the days leading up to the disappearance, many townspeople had appeared nervous, distracted, concerned about something they refused to discuss. One witness recalled a local shop owner abruptly ending a conversation after noticing strangers nearby. Another remembered seeing groups of residents speaking in hushed voices before suddenly stopping whenever someone approached. But nobody knew why. Then investigators made a discovery that changed the direction of the entire case. Inside the town library, hidden between old records, they found a collection of handwritten journals. Most belonged to longtime residents. The entries described ordinary life, family gatherings, work schedules, community events. Then the tone began to change. Several writers mentioned hearing strange sounds at night. A low humming noise, barely audible, always coming from somewhere beyond the surrounding hills. At first, nobody paid attention. But over time, more people mentioned it. The same sound, the same direction, the same uneasy feeling. One journal entry stood out. The writer described waking up repeatedly during the night because of the noise. The final sentence read, "I think it's getting closer." After that entry, the journal ended. There were no additional pages. No explanation. Nothing. The deeper investigators dug, the stranger things became. Telephone records showed an unusual increase in calls between residents during the week before the disappearance. Yet nobody could determine what had been discussed. Most conversations lasted only a few minutes. But there were hundreds of them. Almost as if information was spreading rapidly throughout the community. Something had frightened the town. The question was what? Then another clue emerged. And it was far more disturbing. Investigators searching the outskirts of town discovered dozens of handwritten symbols carved into trees. The markings appeared old, but nobody could identify their meaning. Some residents had apparently photographed the symbols before disappearing. Those photographs were later recovered from abandoned cameras and phones. Oddly, the symbols appeared only along paths leading toward the hills where the mysterious humming sound had reportedly originated. The discovery fueled speculation. Some believed the symbols were warnings. Others believed they marked a route. But investigators could prove neither theory. Then they uncovered something even stranger. A recording. It had been captured by a local amateur radio enthusiast. The man often recorded overnight broadcasts as a hobby. One of those recordings contained several minutes of unexplained audio. At first, All investigators heard was static. Then came the humming. Low, continuous, unnatural. The sound gradually increased in volume. And then suddenly it stopped. The recording ended shortly afterward. The date matched the night before the town vanished. Experts analyzed the audio. No one could identify the source. Years later, they still can't. As the investigation continued, theories exploded across the country. Some believed the residents had joined a secret organization. Others believed the town had fallen victim to mass hysteria. There were even claims of government involvement. But every theory encountered the same problem. None explained how an entire community could disappear without leaving evidence behind. No footprints, no vehicle tracks, no remains, nothing. The case became one of the largest search operations in regional history. Teams combed thousands of acres. Drones scanned forests. Helicopters surveyed remote areas. Nothing was found. Then, months after the disappearance, a hunter made a discovery. Deep within the hills beyond town, he found a campsite. It appeared abandoned, but something about it felt wrong. Sleeping bags remained untouched. Cooking equipment sat exactly where it had been left. And arranged in a circle around the campsite were dozens of personal belongings. Watches, wallets, photographs, children's toys, objects belonging to the missing residents. Yet there was no sign of the residents themselves. Investigators hoped the campsite would finally provide answers. Instead, it created more questions. Forensic teams found no evidence explaining where anyone had gone. No indication of violence. No indication of an accident. Nothing. It was as though people had gathered there, and then vanished. The campsite became the final major lead. After that, the investigation slowly stalled. Years passed. The town remained empty. Nature gradually reclaimed abandoned homes. Paint peeled from walls. Grass overtook streets. Buildings deteriorated. Yet nobody ever returned. Not one resident. Not one witness. Not one explanation. Today, the town still stands. Silent. Frozen in time. Visitors who walk through it often describe strange feeling. The sensation that life simply stopped. As though the people who live there might return at any moment. But they never do. Officially, the disappearance remains unsolved. No confirmed cause. No confirmed destination. No confirmed explanation. Only questions. Questions that continue to haunt investigators decades later. What frightened an entire community? What was the humming sound reported by so many residents? What were the symbols carved into the trees? And perhaps the most unsettling question of all, how does an entire town disappear overnight without leaving a single trace behind? Some mysteries fade with time. This one only becomes stranger. Because somewhere beyond the abandoned homes, the silent streets, and the unanswered questions, the truth is still missing. If you enjoyed this story and want more unsolved mysteries, disappearances, and strange cases, make sure to follow and subscribe.